Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, president and founder of Agile Dad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Ups. Without any further ado, let's get started. It's time for our agile, not so agile version of Daily Stand-Up. And today, in honor of Valentine's Day, I thought it would be cool to talk to you, since it's not Valentine's Day yet, but it's close. I wanted to talk to you about what it means to be a true champion and a story of love. And I'm going to share this. Now, this story was published back in 1991, so it was a long time ago. But it's a cool story. So hopefully I can get through it without getting too emotional. So here we go. It says a large crowd braved snowy, treacherous weather conditions on a 2-hour drive to cheer for our high school state championship girls basketball game. I felt honored as I watched the townspeople troop in from a small mountain community. So many had come to watch us play, and boy, did they get a show. Little did I realize at the time the great lesson in life that I would be taught at the end of that day. The score teetered back and forth between the teams in that game on February 17th, 1990. It was a tough game, physically and mentally. Early in the second quarter, I find myself sitting on the bench with 3 fouls. My position not only forced me to become an observer to the battle on the court, but also allowed me to notice the order in which players were being substituted. I thought to myself, Coach, what are you doing? As he repeatedly put in Jody Reese, who was a sophomore, in the game before Trisha Garn, who was a junior. Trisha had been the first person off the bench all season, and now at the state championship, Coach Wade was giving Trisha's time to Jody. Jody's abilities were certainly par, but changes like this in such an important game weren't characteristic of our coach. I finally decided he must have some good reason and didn't question his motives. Throughout the third and fourth quarter, the game remained close. While Jody played her best game, Trisha sat on the bench, smiling and cheering her heart out for her friend. Trisha only played a few seconds of the entire championship game. It came down to the final 30 seconds, and the teams were tied. We went up by 1, then 2, and finally we made it to 3. A missed 3-point attempt by the opposing team gave us the ball with 9 seconds remaining. We were still cautious, but we could taste the win. The seconds ticked down as we passed the ball to midcourt, and a buzzer sounded, naming us to state champions by a score of 53 to 50. Bedlam broke out as our fans and teammates swarmed the floor and surrounded us. We had just achieved the goal we worked for all year. The trophy was ours, and we reveled in that moment of glory. After the presentation of the trophies, ladders were brought out onto the court, as it was tradition to cut down the nets. And each team member made a climb one by one, trimming one string. When the net hung by only one lonely string, Hal Reese, Jody's dad, had the honor of climbing up and cutting it. He struggled really awkwardly to get up the ladder, gripped the scissors firmly, and managed to snip that last piece. As the net dropped to the floor, tears rolled down the cheeks of all the fans, and it was placed around Mr. Reese's neck. The family members of the Reese family held each other tight. I soon came to understand the reason why Jody played for more than Trisha. It wasn't because the coach was crazy. It was not because one player was better than the other. It was because our friend and teammate had done the most unselfish thing possible. She asked the coach to let Jody have her playing time. Trisha Garn understood what many in the room didn't. Jody's 40-year-old young dad would not live to see her play another game. He was dying of a cancerous brain tumor. Her selfless act in the sight of hell, hugging Jody, just put the state championship into perspective for me. It was nice to have the honors, but compared to what really mattered, the love that we felt, no honor was significant. What a powerful story. What a way to talk about someone being so selfless and someone making that kind of sacrifice in the heat of the moment. And I think the world doesn't have enough of this. The true champions are the ones who understand, who put other people in front of them, who push to give other people the spotlight, who reward and incentivize and help other people be uplifted. Raising someone up is often one of the most selfless things that we can do. And I think that sometimes we just don't bother to take the time to do it. And I think we need to think about it more often, especially when we're talking about those we love. It's so important for us to recognize that sometimes when people make decisions, it's not because, it's not for reasons we may even understand. But it's important for us to know that true love comes from within, and that when we can seek the best in others, and when we can recognize things that are happening around us, and when we can be selfless and serve others, that's when we're gonna show where our true stripes are, what our true colors are. That's where we're gonna be able to extend ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time that we stop looking through things with a filtered lens. I think it's time for us to start behaving like true champions and to really, take advantage of what we can do to figure things out and find ways to really do something special. But it's up to you. It really is. It's up to you to figure out the best way to do that. And what I can tell you is taking the time to uplift someone in a time of need is really going to help you discover who you really are. So I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope that this was helpful for you. Sorry I broke down. I knew I would. It's a hard story to read. But we ask you to tune in next week where we have some more agile topics starting on Monday. So, as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, have an amazing weekend. Until Monday, take care, my friends.